All right, guys, don't work for money. Back to another video. I hope that you've been gaining some insight from the stuff that I've been saying. And I want to dive right in and kind of expand on how you do step one in working for something other than money, which is building relationships. So we talked about this acronym of REAL in one of our other videos, which meant working for relationships, working for experience, working for appreciating assets, and working for the lifestyle that you want. Ultimately, that's the reason why you're working and not for the money. And so, as you think about how you build these relationships, the REAL acronym can be used again. And so, I broke this down for you in the easiest way I could think of by using REAL as a different set of letters. And if you think about how you build these relationships, you do that by R, being relatable, by E, being energetic, by A, being authentic, and by L, being likable. So let's get into the video. If you're building these relationships and you really want to have something meaningful that you can take from place to place, that no matter where you go, you'll be top of mind for people as they go into different organizations and they might need to kind of pull in resources and build their all-star team, you want them to think of you. And the way you help build those inroads is to, one, when you're at a job, be as relatable as you can be. And what does that mean? That does not mean you're being fake. By all means, please, please, please do not show up at work as the fakest version of you possible. Because people can see that you're trying to play a game. They don't like it. I don't like it. Nobody likes it when they're around someone who it feels like you're playing a role or you're playing a character. So being relatable looks a lot different in corporate America, especially for those of us who may be minorities, who may come from a different background. In order to be relatable, you first have to assess the environment that you're in, and then as close to being the real version of you as possible, find a way to integrate into that environment. And so if you think of this like if you're working at a job and most of the people in that office are into a particular movie or they really like talking about a certain, category of investments, or if they are really, really deeply into, I don't know, cosplay or anime, depending on where you work, you never know what the norms are. But the way that you become more relatable is you do some research and you try to find ways to have levels of conversation that you can meet them on. You try to have things that you can kind of discuss as a group or in one-on-one settings that you know will be something that other people are interested in. And so for me, I'll use an example. I was in corporate America, young black kid, didn't have a whole lot to really relate to with maybe a 50-year-old white man that was my boss's boss. So how do I start to build that level of trust and build that kind of relatability in a space where I'm not really the peer group or the norm? And so for me, it kind of played out perfectly because over time I became really interested in real estate. And so instead of me being quiet in a conversation where some of my older executives might be talking about investment strategies and talking about all of the things that they're doing and what returns they're getting, now I could say, you know what, I've been studying up on real estate. I've actually dipped my toe in the water. And even though I was only 25, 26, I had some success in Newark, New Jersey, working with a team of people, young entrepreneurs. We were fixing and flipping properties, not making a ton of money, but having a good time and getting a lot of experience, as well as the fact that now we were able to kind of start to see what it looks like if you held on to one or two of these properties and could talk about what kind of returns you were getting. So for me, it was so much easier to relate to my older executives in these conversations when I could say, oh man, you're getting X, Y, and Z return in the market, or this strategy has yielded X amount of growth over the last couple of years. That's a really cool investment strategy. This is what I'm working on and what we're doing out in Newark. And by the way, you'd be surprised at the gains that we're getting and the cash on cash return that we're getting in these underprivileged areas. And so just by me being able to kind of be in the conversation, relate to them, have some level playing field, you'd be surprised how much rapport that built with these executives. I think that you could almost instantly see them look at me differently. You could always tell that now, if I'm in the room, I'm a part of the conversation and not just a fly on the wall. And so that was huge for me. That might be totally different for you. It could be as simple as, you work with a lot of young Gen Zers or whatever, and they're into a certain show on Netflix. Maybe you got to watch that show. You got to dissect it and see what they're talking about and be able to kind of join in the conversation, not in a weird way, but just being as close to relatable to the things that they care about and are interested in as possible. So that's the first step. And as you start to build these relationships by being more relatable, you'll notice that there's way less of a bias towards race or towards social class, and way more of a bias towards people who feel comfortable around other people. Those are the ones who are going to get promoted. They're going to promote the people they view as peers, the people that they view as relatable personality types. And so for you in corporate America, especially if you're a younger millennial or a Gen Z or whatever the span may be in between, you're going to want to try your best to be conscious of how you're relating to your coworkers. It'll pay off huge dividends in building these relationships. So the other one, the E, is being energetic. I promise you, you do not know how much of a difference it'll make by just showing up every day with high energy, with a level of positivity, with a level of zeal. That is going to go light years ahead of the competition when you're trying to stand apart, because everybody has a case of the Monday sometimes. Everybody doesn't want to be at work at times. You'll be surprised how many people show up with a Debbie Downer mentality every single day. And just by being positive, you can stand out in such a good way. So my advice to anybody who's trying to, advance in their career, build these relationships, just be remembered as a good, positive person throughout the course of their working life, is to do anything you need to do to prep yourself on the way into the office to be as energetic and full of joy as possible when you get there. So the way I do this is I have a pretty strict morning routine, and it's not hard necessarily, but it is pretty regimented. And I can tell the difference when I'm doing my morning routine and when I'm not. So this is my morning routine. I may wake up between 4:30 and 5:30, super early. Sun hasn't come up yet, but this is because I need time to be slow. I need time to drag my feet and to still get myself ramped up before the rest of the world wakes up and the day really gets started. So I wake up 4:30 to 5:30. I might, drink 32 ounces of water, take some pre-workout or some coffee, go hit a workout or go get a 2 to 3 mile run in. And that's just to get my blood flowing, get me stimulated. After that, I might do some meditation, some breath work, and potentially even read a book just to kind of do things for me before I'm checking emails, before I'm really engaging with people on a business side. And this is all stuff that I do to kind of level set and get myself grounded. Then I might do something spiritual where I'm reading the Bible or I'm listening to a podcast about my faith or, a sermon, for example. And I'll try to do these things not necessarily in the same order, but roughly in the same order from about 5:30 to about 7. That is my morning routine. And when I get to the office, A, I've already been awake for a long time, so I'm not dragging my feet. B, I'm so energized because I've got those endorphins flowing. I've taken in some positive intellectual stimulating stuff. And I've also gotten more in tune with my spiritual life. So by the time I get to the office, I can be that ray of sunshine. And not in an obnoxious way, but usually I would love to be the one that is saying good morning to everyone. Love to be the one that's like willing and able to listen to someone else's issues or problems and being able to kind of be that breath of fresh air that people need in the morning. So I encourage you all, find a way, find a process to be as energetic as possible. It'll serve you. The third letter is being authentic. And I cannot explain what authentic is for you. But for me, this is a bit of a struggle at times because, as I mentioned before, you want to be relatable without being fake. And growing up in corporate America, I have been in so many situations where I am the odd man out. I'm the only black guy in the room. I'm the only minority in the building at times. And as you start to kind of play this game of development and growth in your corporate environment, sometimes you do find yourself asking, should I say how I really feel or should I say what's politically correct? And I'm not advising anyone to be politically incorrect in their office or be super militant. That's probably not going to serve you. But what will serve you is knowing who you truly are and finding ways to display the real you at work. You do not want to be a robot. You do not want to be someone who people can't truly remember because they don't really know who you are. And so, what that looks like is, what do you value? What do you do for fun? What do you work hard at outside of work? And how can you communicate those things to the people in your office so they get a sense of who you are? Being authentic looks like talking about your running club if you enjoy running, or your weird, wild obsession with CrossFit if you're super into CrossFit. That was me 10 years ago. I was probably the most obnoxious one in the office, but I couldn't help talking about all of the crazy AMRAPs and the stuff that we were doing in the CrossFit gym I was going to. It might look so different for you. If you're into Harry Potter or if you're into cosplay, it might truly be you saying, hey, I know I'm pretty buttoned up and polished when I'm in this office, but I promise you, there's a convention coming up and I'm finna have the wildest Harry Potter costume on, sharing pictures, sharing photos, talking to people about the experience. And so they start to see you as a really authentic, down to earth individual. That's what you want. And by being the most authentic version of you, you almost give other people to be as authentic as they can be. And breaking down those corporate barriers helps you build relationships so much better. Um, that's what I would recommend, is finding a way to bring the real you to work, even if it's the more polished version of the real you. And last but not least is being likable. That is the L. So being likable is so important for your career progression because when you think about it, so many decisions on who gets promoted and who gets invited into certain rooms and who gets pulled into certain really important projects had to do with who likes working with who. And if you're not a likable person, no matter how brilliant you are, you won't be invited into those rooms and you won't get those promotions in most scenarios. And I've seen it so many times. I work with a lot of type A personalities, and over the course of my, career, I've seen PhD level people, pretty much geniuses, be excluded and excommunicated from certain groups simply because, as brilliant as they were jerks and nobody wanted to work with them. And that does not need to be you. So all you had to do to think about, how do I become a more likable person in general, is A, be the best version of yourself you can be. And people know that once you're at peace and when you're in a good space, that will rub off on them and people can kind of see that level of confidence and that calm about you. That's going to make you more likable in their eyes. And B, following the golden rule, treating other people the way you want to be treated. It really is just that simple. So that's you being nice and courteous. That's you being complimentary. That's you acknowledging when somebody does a great job at something. That's you going an extra effort and sending off an email to the senior leadership team, just encouraging and acknowledging that somebody on your team did such an amazing job at this one thing, and being very cautious and aware of how many opportunities you have throughout your day, your weeks, and your months to boost someone else's ego and to encourage someone and to kind of uplift others around you. You do those things, and I promise you, it'll come back tenfold because people will want you in their spaces if you're a likable, positive person. So, with that, I just want to make sure that you recap and you understand that being relatable, being energetic, being as authentic as you can be, and being likable are the 4 steps to help you build relationships as you work through your corporate career. As always, the purpose for this channel is to help you do 3 things. That's to help you get the job you want, help you advance in the career that you have, and help you ultimately never need a job for your livelihood in the first place. So follow me and stay tuned to the next video. Thanks.